Yeah.
What's happened this week is 3 activists, Tracy, Molm, Pham, and Sarah Martin, have received confirmation that they're being called in front of the grand jury. And this is a terrible thing.
Any dates set?
No dates have been set at this time. We're going to have more information in the next couple of weeks. But what we do know is that we're facing a challenge.
Any indication that they'd be granted immunity?
We don't have that information at this time, but it seems likely that if activists were brought in front of a grand jury, that they would have a choice between talking, basically informing on their friends and neighbors and colleagues, or going to jail.
What's the risk to the overseas people?
Well, obviously, for those who have visited people overseas, if you, in a lot of places, standing up for a trade union, joining a peasant organization is something that can result in death by death squad. And people abroad would be at great risk if they were talked about. So it's actually vital that this not happen. What we have known for a while has been confirmed, that the government intends to bring anti-war and international solidarity activists in front of a grand jury witch hunt, a witch hunt that's designed to push back a growing anti-war movement in this country. On September 24th, police and FBI agents broke down my door, smashed a fish tank, and proceeded to turn my house upside down. Involved about 12 agents, people from the ATF, and they rummaged through every paper in my house, took computers, cell phones, papers of all sorts. Well, no, I haven't traveled on behalf of the Anti-War Committee, but I have traveled overseas. For example, I frequently go to Europe, and I've also traveled in Lebanon, where I attended a conference in solidarity with the people of Palestine and other peoples who are struggling in the Middle East.
Today is a good day to protest.
I have trouble believing there's really.
How did you find out?
We got a call from our lawyers, so we found out that way, and then AP published the story with our names in it yesterday, so that's always fun. We should find out after Thanksgiving our dates, and I stay the same as I was before. We did nothing wrong, and I intend to not cooperate with a grand jury process that's all in secret that works to criminalize the solidarity work that we've done, the great solidarity work we've done throughout the ages.
I'm here today because having gotten the news that that this political attack against people who do international solidarity and anti-war work is continuing, I'm really upset that my friends and colleagues are being called before the grand jury.
We knew when we didn't have our appearances in October that we'd be getting called back. I'm really concerned for my 3 friends who are the first 3 called back, and I'm glad that they'll be here for the beginning of the holiday season, if you will, but I'm very concerned about the risk of them being separated from us and their families and our movement. We need them very much.
My name is Chris Gedowitz, and I'm with SDS at the University of Minnesota. And on Election Day, we actually hosted an event interviewing the panel of discussees. I believe there were 6 FBI raidees that came to the University of Minnesota, and they talked to us and talked to students and some staff and most of us in SDS about how the raids have influenced their lives and some of the adjustments they've had to make. And SDS stands for Students for a Democratic Society.
And how long has that been around?
It has been around since the 1960s, since the Port of Huron statement was written by Tom Hayden.
From Columbia to the Middle East, we demand justice, we demand peace. And our greatest fear is that he will impose immunity in an attempt to force them to testify. If that happens, they'll have to choose between imprisonment or testifying against their friends, political associates, and the movement that they have worked so hard to build. Grand juries and this kind of immunity have frequently been used to devastate political movements and jail our leaders.
In 2003, I started my career, or before 2003, in the lead up to the war in Iraq. I saw a grave travesty happening as the Bush administration was trying to tell the American people that we needed to attack Iraq with no clear justifications that made any sense. As I joined many of you in the streets, it became clear that this was not the only travesty happening. I learned deeper what solidarity means by traveling to Palestine and witnessing what happens to the people who live under occupation every day.
I am here today to say that Women Against Military Madness and the Twin City Peace Campaign stand in solidarity with our friends Sarah Martin, Tracy Molm, and Ann Thon, who are again being called to appear in front of a grand jury in Chicago. And we stand in solidarity with the other peace and justice activists whose homes were raided on September 24th. But we know that opposition to U.S. government policy is not a crime, and we will not be silent. Every American should be concerned when law enforcement and the grand jury system are used to declare war on nonviolent dissent. This undermines the very foundation of our First Amendment rights and makes us all less safe.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These attacks on activists have got to go!
You know, justice has been turned absolutely upside down. This is injustice that we're living in. I just came back from Dallas, Texas, and I was out there with a Code Pink at 4 different events because we had our former president, George Bush, who has admitted committing waterboarding and committing torture. And torture under domestic and international law is the biggest war crime in the world. And, you know, actually we even had some sympathetic press down in Texas, but we had most of the people walking into the events said that they were going to cheer Bush because he had saved us from Saddam, who attacked us on 9/11. So this is the kind of misinformation. It was incredible. It's just, it's mind-boggling. We have now going on with the repression of the anti-war committee and the other anti-war activists is part of a much larger problem in this country. And if we do not reverse this trend and these really systemic forces that are going on right now, this is only the beginning. We are going to see it. It already has been occurring mostly in the Muslim community, but it's going to continue on a much grander scale. The Humanitarian Law Project, which many lawyers have now explained, gives broad discretion to make advocacy, humanitarian work, missionary work, all these types of things in the world a crime.
Remain silent and the grand jury witch hunt!